Welcome back, everybody, to the NBA 2K25 MyNBA expansion series with the Mexico City Aztecs. We're coming off a 43-39 year in our inaugural season with one of the worst offenses in basketball, but also the best defense in the league in just our first year. We are missing Malcolm Brogdon, our starting point guard and our best offensive player, because he broke his right ankle a couple weeks ago, and he's going to miss our play-in tournament game plus whatever comes next after that, unless we unlikely make it to the NBA Finals, which, again, is probably not going to happen. In fact, I doubt we actually make it out of the play-in tournament either, but our first game comes against the Memphis Grizzlies. The plan for the episode is to sim the first half of that game, watch the second half if it's close, and then if we make it, then I'll watch the second half of our next planned game, and then if we don't, then we'll move right into our first ever off-season. So, we face the Grizzlies first. They're coming off a year where they were around where we were, around 500. And this is a pretty healthy, fully healthy team. They've got Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., Marcus Smart coming off the bench right now. Their team is a lot better than ours, but their record would not really indicate that to you if you were just looking at these standings. But that's our first opponent here today, and we're going to sim the first half and watch the second. Let's just dive right in and simcast the first half of the game. The Clippers beat the Lakers, so whoever wins this game has to beat the Lakers in the next one to secure the 8th seed in the Western Conference. But here we go. Simcasting the first half. Pretty back and forth first quarter, but the Grizzlies lead by 2 after 1. In the second quarter, they extend their lead to double digits approaching halftime, and they lead 64-48 at the halftime break. Third quarter, Aztecs actually trying to fight back in this one, and they get it back within single digits approaching the fourth quarter. We're going to jump in late if it's still within 10 or so points, and the Aztecs have actually retaken the lead here in the fourth quarter. They lead 105-98 with 5:42 left to go. A 23-7 fourth quarter. The offense for the Grizzlies struggling mightily here. Let's watch the rest. Alright, so Memphis has the ball trailing by 7. Open triple for Desmond Bane, but he can't knock it down. It goes the other way. Out to Levert for the triple. He can't knock it down either, and Santi Aldama comes in for the rebound. Off-ball screen set for Morant. He rises and connects. It's back to 5. Under 5 to play here. Ja Morant, 18 points on 64% shooting. We'll see if he can keep things up here to close this game out and potentially lead the comeback here for the Grizzlies. Pritchard cuts, gets the feed, and can't lay it in. Morant, some solid interior defense. Jackson wants it in the paint, spinning and snatched out of thin air by Steven Adams. And we give it right back on the other end. It's a steal for Jaren Jackson Jr. Aldama, beautiful pump fake. Adams comes over to help and gets another stop. We do again have the best defense in the NBA this past season. Trying to show it off here in our first ever postseason appearance. Shot clock under 5 for the Aztecs. It's Finney-Smith. No good from behind the arc. Out of the corner. Desmond Bane steps back and no good. Adams boxes out for the board. Adams on the other end is fouled at the rim. That's Spain's second, 4th against Memphis. And we've got some free throws, although Adams is not very reliable at the line here. They're going to bring in Clark and Marcus Smart here for the last 3 minutes of the game, as Adams goes 0 for 2. And they turn the ball over. That's a horrible pass there by Jaren Jackson Jr. And Josh Green gives it right back to the Aztecs. And Pritchard is going to turn the ball over with the charge, drawn by Marcus Smart, one of the best outside defenders in the game. It's been a very low-scoring fourth quarter since we have jumped in. Grizzlies still not getting on track on offense, but Ja Morant will slip inside and shut me up. It's down to 3. Trying to cash in from deep. It's Peyton Pritchard with the big response. He's got 25 points to lead the way for Mexico City. 11 of those coming here in the fourth quarter. Memphis has to really put a couple of buckets together and string some stops in there too. Here's Bane with the pump fake. Handing off to Jaren Jackson Jr. out to Morant, and he connects from deep in response. Denny Smith the screen. LeVert draws the foul and nearly got the buckets. And Santi Aldama has fouled out of the ball game. So in comes Williams off the bench for Memphis. And LeVert nails both free throws. Downhill, Morant nearly got the and one. Fouled by Adams. These free throws can cut it back to a single possession game. 11 for 16 shooting here in this one for Ja Morant. He has taken over here in the fourth quarter as that back end free throw barely slips in. It's 110-107. Under 90 seconds left to play. Little pick and roll here. LeVert hands it off. That one's deflected. It'll stay with the Aztecs. Inbound to Adams. Inside to Pritchard. Good passing by Mexico City here. Can we find the open look? It's LeVert with it. Over Bane. No good. Williams flies in for the board. A 3 could tie things up for the Grizzlies. Morant posters Finney Smith. And he got the foul too. He tried to meet Ja at the rim. And that is what he does, man. He attacks the basket with ferocity. And the free throw is no good. Aztecs still lead. A crucial miss at the line for Ja Morant. Can the Aztecs put the ball in the hoop? Screen set by DFS. Pritchard trying to get inside, but he's blocked off by Morant. LeVert rises and connects. 3-point lead again. Grizzlies use their final timeout. Crowd is on their feet. 22 seconds left to go. Memphis needs a 3 to tie. Morant, another hoop and the harm. He's going to have a second chance to tie things up. Are you kidding me? That's back-to-back buckets by Ja Morant going right to the rim, drawing the foul and getting the bucket to go. The free throw. Up and no good again! Back-to-back free throw misses from Morant. And Memphis has to foul. It's Josh Green with crunch time free throws, but he misses the front end. Neither team wants to win this game as Green goes 0 for 2. Memphis can walk the game off here. They trail by 1. No timeouts. Under 10 seconds left to go. Morant will keep it himself, and he scores! Ja Morant picking on Pritchard. 2.3 to go. And we call timeout to advance the ball. We have 2.3 seconds to win the ball game. Green will inbound it to LeVert. from the logo. No good. Memphis escapes. And the Aztecs' first season is officially over in the play-in tournament. Josh Green with the missed free throws. I can't believe we just lost like that. An absolute heartbreaker in Mexico City. The Mexico City Aztecs have been eliminated. Wow. I can't believe we just lost like that. Our year is over. Memphis has to win one more game to secure the 8th seed. It's between them and the Lakers. We led by as many as 7 in that game, and we blew it. Ja Morant takes over late and drops 31 points on 14 for 19 shooting. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane also shot fairly well. Pritchard drops 25, LeVert 24, but he was 0 for 6 from downtown. Wow. Both teams actually shot fairly well overall in this game. They were pretty good from deep, but not good enough. 61% at the line. Those last 2 free throws from Josh Green really were the losing shots of the game. That is insane. 113 to 112, and that will take us into our first offseason, I guess. Wow. Out of all ways to end your first year, that is one of the crazier ways to do it. But let's see who escapes the play-in tournament here in either conference. It is going to be Memphis securing the 8th seed. The Clippers are the 7. They'll face Minnesota as the 2. You got Denver against OKC, Golden State against the 5 seed Spurs, and Memphis facing the 1 seed at Dallas Mavericks, led by Luka Doncic, the reigning MVP. Over in the Eastern Conference, Toronto as the 8 seed will face the 1 seed Knicks. The Pacers will host the 7 seed Bucks. Chicago against Miami, and the 76ers against the Boston Celtics, who are the reigning champions. Let's go ahead and sim the playoffs here and see where things go in this first, playoff of the series. And it looks like it's going to be a Dallas Mavericks and Celtics finals. Just like last year, a rematch as Tatum puts up 41 plus points per game in the Eastern Conference Finals. Or no, they lost that in 5, but Tatum still wins ECF MVP. It's going to be the Heat against the Mavericks. The Heat as the 6th seed coming in take down the Bulls in 6. They beat the Bucks in 6, who had beaten the 2 seed Pacers in 6 games. Boston, meanwhile, had a 1-7 against the 1 seed Knicks. And Dallas won 4-1 against the Grizzlies, 4-1 against Golden State, and 4-3 over the Timberwolves. I think that was the same case as last year, if I recall. And now it's Mavericks Heat in the NBA Finals. Mavericks looking for their first finals victory since their upset win against the Heat back in, I want to say, 2011. And the Mavericks win the NBA championship in 5 games. A Larry O'Brien trophy added to their trophy room. Luka, the finals MVP, on fantastic numbers. 33.8 points per game, 10 rebounds, nearly 14 assists, 1.6 steals, and fantastic shooting splits. And they are now the reigning champions going into our first off season. As a refresher, the following players do not have a contract going into next season. That starts with Malcolm Brogdon, Karis LeVert, Luke Kennard, Steven Adams, Yabusele, and GP2. 3 of those players were starters for the vast majority of our first season. The players that do have contracts for the next season or 2 are Dorian Finney-Smith with a player option, so that's not confirmed just yet. Josh Green, Robert Williams, Derek Jones Jr., Najee Marshall. Peyton Pritchard is going to be on this team for quite a long time, which I actually kind of prefer. And then you got Javon Carter with a player option as well, who barely played this past year. And James Wiseman currently on a team option, which I'm probably going to accept because he's only 24 years old and could be some really good depth for us behind our top 2 centers. So we're going to look a lot different in year 2 because of the draft and because of free agency and because we have $100 million in salary cap room in this offseason. So expect a very different roster going into our next campaign. I have made one change since last episode, and that was to increase the sim difficulty up to 60 from 50 because I feel like we probably should have had a worse record than we actually did. So I did increase it to get kind of more realistic results for worse teams. But now we're up to July 3rd, 2025. We're going to jump right into player retirements, the first off-season period where LeBron James has retired. Now, I have heard that there's a glitch where if you override a retired player, then they don't appear in the next season. I don't know if I want to test that just yet, but I might for LeBron because we know that he's not going to retire after the first year of the franchise. Am I willing to risk the glitch? I think I am. So we're going to override LeBron. He will come back for one more season, and we can only do it one time. So hopefully he's not going to bug out or anything. But the following players have retired. Chris Paul, that makes sense. Kyle Lowry, Al Horford, Mike Conley, Eric Gordon, Kevin Love, Westbrook, DeAndre Jordan. I'm going to bring Westbrook back for one more year. I think that makes sense. But Jeff Green, Thaddeus Young, Derrick Rose already retired before this year began in real life. So the rest of these actually, I think, make plenty of sense. Now we've got the draft lottery. So we're going to find out if we jump any spots here. We have the 14th best odds to get the first overall pick. Meanwhile, the Rockets are going to have 3 lottery picks, 2 of which have the highest odds to get the number 1 pick. So they're going to have 2 of the top 5 picks, most likely, if I had to guess. The Thunder are behind them, then the Bulls and the Spurs, all those acquired via earlier trades. And I do plan to trade up in this draft to get one of those top 4 players that have kind of that Hall of Fame ceiling, or Mobley, who's got the All-NBA ceiling, because I think either one I would kind of prefer over a guy that we're not really a whole lot sure about. But let's go find out if we jump up here at all in the lottery odds. With the 14th best odds, the Aztecs will stay at pick 14. So no change there. We'll have to see if any other teams jump up later on in the lottery. Oh, the Jazz just jump into the top 4 with the 10th best odds. The Kings fall to pick 10. That was like a 3.7% chance of jumping up. The Magic are pick 9, so the Pelicans are also top 4. The Rockets will also be in the top 4 with their lowest lottery pick, so that's 3 teams leapfrogging. The Hornets are at 8, Portland at 7. With pick 6, the Jazz have the highest odds. It's going to be the Nets instead. So they have 2 lottery picks here. The Wizards will have pick 5, and here comes the top 4. The Rockets will have at least 2 picks in the top 4. The Pelicans will have number 4. Number 3 will go to the Rockets. Next up, the Jazz have the highest odds. They will have pick number 2, which means that the Jazz also have the first pick. So I guess one of the Rockets picks were going to be returned if they were going to reach the top whatever. So there you have it. The Jazz have the top 2 picks in the draft. That is insane. Then it's the Rockets, Pelicans, Wizards, and Nets. We have pick 14 as of right now, but again, I do plan to trade up. The Jazz will have 3 first-round picks. So it might be one of our top targets to trade with, potentially at pick 2, because they have the top 2. We'll see what happens. In terms of staff signing, we have all 12 bonus staff acquired already, but we do not have an assistant GM or a head scout. I'm going to hire those spots here soon. Now, I did consider and talk about likely firing our head coach, but I think I would rather draft our first player and then see which system fits them the best, and then hire staff to complement whatever system works best for him. So I'm going to keep Milan Mack for 1 more year at the least and go from there. But I will start to probably move bonus staff to our head scouts going into our next couple of years to prioritize scouting for these next couple of draft classes. We're going to sign Clint Collier as our new assistant GM. And at head scouts, we do not get my first option in Connor Lee, so we're going to have to go after somebody else. We're going to sign Alan Starks in that spot instead. And now I'm going to unassign bonus staff from our CFO. And I'm going to apply that to scouting. And I'll do it one more time so we can just kind of maximize our scouting for max efficiency in these next couple of years. Taking a look at the draft combine, the top standing 15-foot jump shots belongs to Rodney Reed and Zach Perkins, guys that we have not really talked about so far. The top moving 15-foot jump shot shooters are Florin Philemon, a 6'10 center, and Lex Todd, another center. The top standing college three-pointer is Earl Gill, followed by RJ Brooks, so I think we briefly mentioned last episode. The top moving college 3 was Wade Anderson and then Gordon Jamieson. Top standing NBA 3 at 16 for 25 was John Cobb, who is one of the guys that has the Hall of Fame ceiling compared to Kobe Bryant, which I'm definitely a fan of him. I'm definitely thinking about him as one of our top targets in this draft. And then also Gordon Jamieson, Jayshawn Spencer, Dennis Stevens, and JP Wright IV all were tied with Cobb. The top moving NBA 3, also 16 for 25, was also John Cobb, Wade Anderson, and Douglas Farrell, who is coming out of Kentucky. So John Cobb is up there. He's one of my top players. Despite no badges, I'm not as concerned as I was in last year's game because, again, they have kind of lowered the badge numbers and made more badges kind of encompass more traits. So it's not that surprising with players coming in out of college with no badges, at least around 0. I mean, if they have 3 or more, that is going to be a very impressive player. So I'm not really expecting too many badge numbers going forward. But again, I am going to have fictional crafted draft classes going forward, so they will be a lot better, more well-rounded. They'll be very different each year, and they'll have a lot of variety in terms of players. So we go to pre-draft workouts to get additional information on some of the top guys. I'm going to spend it to kind of round out some of these profiles. For Douglas Farrell, we have 10 invites to use. Dusty Beasley, I'll skip him because of his height being pretty low. I will try and get more info on RJ Brooks. And if I can sort by draft projection, that would actually help me out a little bit here. So we'll use it on those 2 guys. We'll look at Ronald Adams, maybe. I would like to prefer or just use it on guys that have a high ceiling like Ronald Adams with the Pete Maravich comparison. OJ Buchanan, not so much. So going through these visits, we know that Adams will have at least 1 badge coming out of college. That will be Aerial Wizard. And again, his comparison is Pete Maravich / All-NBA. with a nice shooting form, good leaping ability, good on-ball defending. Wade Anderson, all-star ceiling compared to Kelly Tripucka. Good on-ball defender. He can grow a lot as he matures. Can knock down jumpers from behind the line. So that is a good sign. Don't know about his badges yet because of the low scouting percentage. RJ Brooks compared to JoJo White. He's a 6'3" point guard, age 22. Good on-ball defender, good passing fundamentals, solid vertical leap, and a good second jump. Don't know about his badges either. Phillip Evans, we'll skip him because of his low ceiling. We'll skip Pharrell as well, who only has a starter ceiling and floor. Halamane, the Dwight Howard comparison. He will at least have pogo stick and comes in with good potential, can score through traffic, good on-ball defender, but will have kind of a low basketball IQ. Reggie Mann is an all-star ceiling player, can score when posted up, very capable low-post defender, can steal the ball on occasion, but is not a good three-point shooter. We do not know about his badges either. Thomas Smith, Marquise Johnson / All-NBA, solid on-ball defender. In-game dunks are better than most guys' practice dunks. He's a great finisher at the rim. Elite second jump, and that could be a real weapon for him. Does not have a good low-post offensive ability. Don't know about his badges either. But again, the inside scoring looks pretty darn solid. Well, think about him if we cannot trade up. Anders Sundin compared to Elton Brand. Good but not great pickpocket ability out of Sweden. Has solid potential, but has plenty of weaknesses. Does not do well, I guess, when he's being posted up on. Does not have any three-point ability and has below average court vision, and has no badges out of the international region. Frank Winston, Rick Barry / All-NBA. Good on-ball defender, has sound defensive fundamentals, good vertical leap, but will miss the open man a little bit too much when passing the ball, so kind of poor court vision. Needs to work on his medium range shot, but that's about it. He will also not have any badges, but is going to be like a 70 overall, which this class is not the best in the world, so kind of a weak start to our first draft class. So that's going to be it for these 10 or so prospects. Adams might be my favorite of the bunch because of the good shooting form, and is a good on-ball defender. So with that badge as well, he's got some really solid ability on both ends of the courts. I'm going to add him to our draft board for sure, because if we can't trade up, he might be a really solid option. So I'll have to add him once we get into the draft, which is going to be right about now. So because the Jazz have the first overall pick, let's go and see what it would take to acquire maybe that second pick. If they could even trade that one away. I'm not sure they actually can. No offers were found for the assets. I'm assuming it's the same for the first overall pick. And that is also true. So we'll have to either go with the manual trade or go with the Rockets, or I think the Pelicans have pick 4. So let's go take a look there real quick and see if either of those teams want to give us a pick. I'm not going to accept the offer yet because I want to see what the first overall pick is. I'm assuming it's going to be Deion York because he is the unanimous first overall selection. The Rockets have pick 3. No offers were found. We don't really have the best, the best roster capital to trade away to get one of those top 4 picks. The Pelicans have the 4th pick, and they also don't have any offers for us yet. So we'll send them at least the first pick, see who they take. And the Jazz do select Deion York out of Washington. So no surprise there. He had over 31 points per game in college, which is just incredible. And they have the number 2 pick as well. Let's just see what it would take to trade up if we can even offer one of those manual ones. our offers are not going to be strong for this pick, but I will offer this one first. Josh Green, our first-round pick, and the Time Lord to acquire pick number 2. Not the best trade in the world, but we'll see if they have any kind of response for us here. And they do not see it as valuable. Alright, so I doubt a deal gets done here with the second overall pick. So we're going to let the Jazz make that selection as well. And they will take Jackson Larson. Not who I expected going this early. But he's got really good basketball intelligence. So if we look at the rest of the board, you've got Dion York gone. If you look at the Sports Nation or Sporting News projection, they had Larson going at pick like 8. So Boris Bowen's still there. John Cobb's still there. These are the two guys that had the Hall of Fame comparisons to Dominique Wilkins and Kobe Bryant. So I'm definitely still thinking about those two guys. But also, I'm thinking about Aaron Mobley, who has the Alonzo Mourning comparison. 6'11", 22 years old, and seems like a really solid player. Plus, he has 3 badges, which is great starting out. So I think I'm fine with really either of those 3 options. I just want to wait for the board to kind of fall and see what happens after these next couple of picks. But we'll first try and get a deal done here with the Rockets, but I doubt it's going to be close. Would they take depth plus a first-round pick for a 3rd overall pick? I'm not so sure. Let's just offer it and see what they think. They don't like the offer at all. Fair enough. I'm also not willing to give away any future picks for us because we're obviously a new team. We need all the draft capital that we can possibly get. So I'm not willing to give away any other picks besides trading up. And the Rockets, at pick 3, will take Dusty Beasley. So we might be able to get pick 5 or 6, depending on who is taken here. I wasn't a fan of Beasley because of his heights, but the Rockets don't mind it. And with Fred VanVleet becoming a free agent, that is, not the worst pick in the world. The Pelicans don't have a good center on the roster. Tice is their best listed center. Why not try and send the Time Lord here? Would they have any interest in that kind of a deal? What do they say to our pick plus Williams? Just in general, I guess they don't have the cap to do it. So we can't trade with them. With the 4th overall pick in the draft, the Pelicans take Iancu Ionescu. So we still have Bowen, Cobb, and Mobley on the board here. Washington has Valanciunas. They have Bagley as well, but Bagley is not going to be on a new contract going into next year, at least as of right now. So, again, if we think about trading with them, well, we can't because it was involved in a previous trade, so we can't trade with Washington either. And with pick 5, they will select Anderson Longley. This is not going at all as I thought it would. So the Nets have Claxton, but their next best center is going to be a free agent in Noah Clowney. And we can't trade for this pick if we want to. If we send them Williams, they have the cap room. Well, obviously include one more piece to kind of sweeten the deal here. And I think I would rather give up Derek Jones Jr. over Josh Green because he's 4 years older. And the Nets agree to the offer. So we give up the Time Lord, and we have acquired the 6th overall pick in the NBA draft. So a pretty big trade. Now we have options to choose from, and now it's about making the right selection here with this pick. If we refresh our memory about all these players, they're all different ages. You've got John Cobb, who is 21. You've got Mobley, who's 22, and Bowen, who's 23. I think I'm going to be out on Bowen because of his age, not so much for Cobb or Mobley. Again, Cobb looks to be a really well-rounded offensive player right out of the gate. He comes from NC State. He is 6'6" in 30 games in college. He averaged over 26 points per game and had plenty of steals, plus 1 block per game. He's got the Kobe Bryant Hall of Fame ceiling. Bradley Beal bench is a really good floor to have. Really good mid-range shooter, good vertical leap, overall a plus athlete, very skilled shooter from long distance. Does not have the best basketball IQ, and is also kind of a poor finisher, but that was not really indicated by his grades. So keep that in mind. His attributes look like he has a pretty good driving layup, so not concerned about his finishing at all. His shooting is all about like a 75, so good starting place. He won't be great out of the gates. He won't really draw fouls too much, but does have a pretty solid shot IQ at least, so that kind of goes against the basketball IQ, but has poor pass accuracy, good speed though with the ball in his hands. Good hands as well for defense, at least starting out compared to the average at his position. Good consistency on offense. Defense looks pretty low across the board. I think I need somebody that is going to be a good offensive player early on in their career because we had one of the worst offenses. If we can bring back some of those guys like Steven Adams and other guys, and we can kind of keep around a similar level of defense, even though we just got rid of Derrick Jones Jr. and the Time Lord. If we go with Mobley, you have a lower ceiling with Alonzo Mourning / All-NBA. Should be an all-star someday. Rarely gets his shot blocked out the rim. He's a powerful finisher. Has 3 badges to go along with this. He's a good low-post defensive presence. He's a center. Cannot play power forward, at least as of right now. Has poor offensive anticipation, below average low post scoring ability. So kind of mostly a defensive guy. Don't know about his, college stats. Is not the best rebounder either, which is a concern for him at 22 years old and 6'11". I think I'm leaning towards Cobb here. And Mobley was supposed to go at pick 4 or pick 8, so right around here. Cobb was supposed to go at 3, 9, or 3. So both guys in a very similar area here, but Cobb is younger. I think Cobb is better for a team like us that struggled on offense for the bulk of the season. So John Cobb is going to be our selection out of North Carolina State, a member of the Wolfpack. Let's go and choose him and draft our guy. John Cobb, welcome to Mexico City. According to Sean Devaney, one of the skills they test for at the Combine is a player's ability to hit the NBA distance 3. And as we saw earlier before the draft, John Cobb was the best player across the board. So with that limitless range, he should be a really good offensive talent for us in years to come. That's a pretty bold move to make. Going after a guy that we're not really too sure about, but trading up 7 spots or 8 spots to get that pick, I think was the right move. It gave us options. And now we look at where the rest of the board falls. The Trailblazers will take Aaron Mobley with the 7th pick out of the G League. So there you go. We'll have to keep our tabs on him. The Hornets take Boris Bowen out of UNC. So he's a 6'10 small forward, but he is 23 years old, which means that I was kind of out on him. I would prefer younger players. The Magic next up take Gabe Hayes out of George Mason. And the Kings at pick 10, they select Ethan Love. I think I'm going to... Well, hold on. First, we have a trade to announce. The Nets give up pick 11 and Shake Milton to the Jazz, who are trading back into the first round for another lottery selection to take Timothy Stewart out of England. Interesting pick there. I was going to say, though, I'm probably going to just sim towards the end of towards our second round pick and then see who was drafted once we get to the draft summary, because that's what really matters here, I think. As the Pistons will trade pick 13 for Kyle Anderson plus a lottery protected first round pick in a couple of years. Interesting trade there. They take OJ Buchanan. Looking through our options here in round 2, we don't have a lot of guys here scouted, but we do have Wade Anderson scouted, at least 72%. He was one of those top 3-point shooters, all-star ceiling. He is 23, but I think this is where you take players like that, because most guys' ceilings aren't very high. His is, and he's already a solid shooter, although we can't really see too much here. Similar player as to Cobb, but I think this is where you take a gamble here and take players that are older and can contribute almost immediately. So he's going to be our pick. He's a 6'6" guard, can play point or 2-spot. He's a catch-and-shoot threat, and we're going to take him here in the top of the second round. Simming to the end, and Deion York was the first overall pick, 81 overall at 18 years old, the youngest player in the draft by a mile. Not sure why nobody else was even in their teens, pretty much. It's kind of strange, but he was the unanimous first overall pick. And if you look at his badges, he's got posterizer, and he has really good offensive grades. He's going to be an immediate impact player, and it's probably the long-term Lauri Markkanen replacement, because he's probably going to get traded or just become a free agent here in a couple of years. B+ potential for him. At second overall, they took Jackson Larson. He is a good passer, but is definitely a work-in-progress player at 72 overall. Only C potential. This one might be a miss. Beasley, next up, was taken by the Rockets, and he's got pretty good offensive skills. Defense, not so much. C+ potential. This was a very strange class. Ionescu was next up, taken by the Pelicans. He's a point guard at 6'6". A solid offensive player. Good athlete, but also low potential on paper. Then you had Anderson Longley, B- potential. Not the best athlete. He's 6'4" at shooting guard, and he has decent offensive skills starting out. But then you had John Cobb go to the Aztecs at pick 6. Our first ever selection in the series. 21 years old. Very good offensive player starting out. Defense, not horrible. Definitely needs work, but it's not bad at all. He's got B+ potential on paper. I am very happy with this pick. I really can't complain about him all too much. And he's a 71 overall out of the draft. Mobley was the very next pick. He's also got B+ potential. Probably won't be as good starting out as Cobb will, even though the overalls are the same. But still a solid pick nonetheless for Portland. Boris Bowen next up. No badges. 74 overall at 6'10" and 23 years old. Solid offensive player, not great. Defense, not very good. Potential only C on paper. Not really sure how that rating is decided on, but that is the rating. Gabe Hayes out of George Mason, B+ potential. Definitely a work-in-progress player. And then at pick 10, you had Ethan Love, 73 overall, 6'6". Another kind of work-in-progress guy. Good athlete, though, but only C potential. At pick 13, OJ Buchanan, picked by the Warriors, A- potential. The highest of the draft so far. Very good offensively as a 6'1" point guard out of St. Bonaventure. So really solid pick there on the trade up by Golden State. And you had that sneak pick that I was talking about earlier in Ronald Adams. A- potential. Really good athletes. Good offensive player. Not a bad pick here by the Hawks at pick 15. So could have taken him as well, but he is 1 year older and has one badge compared to John Cobb. Thomas Smith, though, at 6'5", good athlete, high potential, pretty well-rounded here. but most guys are going to be a work in progress. Rixi Siki out of Hungary, A- potential, really good outside defender, but that's kind of all he has to offer right now. You've also got Tyler Ryan, who was drafted by the Thunder at pick 20. They continue to stock up on really high potential players. Oh, look at this guy, Maurice Mullen out of Oklahoma. Very similar player as to Cobb. Higher potential on paper with very good offensive abilities. At pick 29, the Nets drafted Wesley Henderson, an ODU Monarch. Solid inside scorer, decent three-point ability, and a potential on paper. One of the highest in the entire draft. So, not a lot of high potential players in the first round, but we just went over all the guys that have B+ or higher. And halfway through round 2, we took Wade Anderson, who has a good mid-range shot, decent three-point shooter, is terrible at finishing at the rim, apparently, according to this profile, but does have a C+ potential. Not the best pick. But this was a relatively weak draft class. Second rounders were kind of few and far between in terms of their overalls. And the first round was top heavy with one guy. The rest were all in the same area. So it was hard to make the surefire right pick outside of York. And Pharrell was the second highest overall, but he has pretty low potential at only B. So there weren't a lot of great players in this draft, but we got a guy that has one of the highest ceilings with that Hall of Fame Kobe Bryant comparison. If we can live up to even part of that, then this was the right pick to make. But you just don't know until you see this guy play on the court. We will sign both players to 2- and 1-year deals respectively. And now team player options. DFS and Javon Carter both accept their player options, so both guys will come back for us. And we are going to pick up the Wiseman team option too. And moratorium, LeBron James has not disappeared, thank God, and he is a free agent after declining his player option with the Lakers, which he's probably going to do in real life too. So there you go. He's got 20 offers right now. I'm not going to go after any big name players because I want us to focus on John Cobb as kind of the focal point of the team. But if you can find somebody in the low 80s, kind of like Fred VanVleet or Jalen Suggs perhaps, despite being restricted, that might be what we do here. Now, the system match is going to be a problem for us because I don't know what system is going to match John Cobb just yet because you can't check that in the offseason. We have to wait, I think, until the next year starts, which is the case. So, not really sure who's going to fit our system the best because I'm going to choose the best one for John Cobb. Our roster could probably use a starting guard over Cobb. I don't know if he's worthy of a starting role, but if you want to get your best look at him, it's probably going to be as a starter. We'll just have to see. It was the 6th overall pick, so I'm not opposed to it. Could use a better small forward and especially power forward. And now a center will be a focus for us too. So I'm going to focus on big men first, and then we'll go from there. We have a lot of cap to spend as well. If we're going to keep our defense up, I think Miles Turner has to be a guy that we think about bringing in because he is a great inside defender. Has an offer right now from the Pacers to come back, but he is unrestricted. He's less than 30 years old. So why not throw an offer his way and bring in a really good defensive piece that can also give you some really good offensive performances. Grant Williams also potentially an option at only 26 years old, good locker room leader. I'm going to offer Williams a 2-year deal. This would be the mid-level exception, so we'll offer him that because that would obviously continue this trend of defense with the occasional offensive spurt, like with Miles Turner and guys from our first year. And now if we look at small forward, we have one offer left to give out. Now, this is also not the best group available, but Okoro is unrestricted. And he's also a really solid outside defender. Can knock down threes, score inside. why not go after him too and kind of make this team as young as we're kind of thinking about, alongside John Cobb. And Turner has probably taken the Pacers offer instead, so that kind of sucks. And he is going to re-sign with the Pacers, unfortunately for us. We do get Williams and we get Okoro. Oh, but how about Naz Reid? Unrestricted from Minnesota. I like him a lot. He does have offers from several different teams. I would love to bring him in. He's only 25 years old. Not going to be a center for us. I'll probably start him at power forward and have Williams come off the bench and bring in a different center, like perhaps... I don't want to do Jalen Duren again for back-to-back rebuilds, but I would look at potentially Marvin Bagley, Mo Wagner, or Nick Richards. Or Drummond perhaps could be a fun option too, as kind of that low-post scorer and rebounder. Or bring back Adams for one more year. Not opposed to that either, but Naz Reid could be that true starting caliber power forward who can play offense and defense. I'm definitely going to offer him a deal hopefully worth more than the other offers he currently has, because we can afford this and he would be a really fun player to watch going forward. So we have offered $12 million more than the Rockets, who already had the highest interest of anybody else. So the Timberwolves are offering a 4-year deal. I offered a 3-year deal. Might want to actually change that to a 4-year deal. Gonna have to wait on that. Hopefully he takes that one. We'll have to see. And I will try and bring back Adams, because he was great for us last year and can be that low post defensive anchor like he was a year ago. At point guard, Brogdon is still here and has no other offers. I'm definitely considering bringing him back. We could bring in Lonzo Ball, though, who again is a really good defender, can knock down threes, good playmaker, can probably get the ball to a John Cobb a lot, and won't take away too many shots from him. He is 27 years old, has a big, long history of injuries as well. There's also Trey Jones, who is really solid across the board, and his brother Tyus Jones. There are options here, but Brogdon, 5 years older. I think I like Lonzo a bit more than him. Can we afford all these deals? I think we can. We'll just have to see. It will likely be Naz Reid time in Mexico City, folks. All 5 players have agreed to their contracts. I think we can afford this with the rights being renounced for all these players. So, Williams, Okoro, Reid, Adams, Lonzo, all agreeing to their deals. On the last day of moratorium, we have secured all of those deals. Still $24 million left to spend. The Lakers get LeBron back. The Mavericks get Kyrie back on a big 5-year contract at 33 years old. He's going to be old by the time that deal's up. Randall re-signs with the Knicks. So definitely a different thing going on here than in real life, as he's now in Minnesota. The Rockets re-sign Jalen Green and Şengün, their 2 star talents. We saw Miles Turner go back to Indiana. The Clippers bring back James Harden to a 3-year deal. We got Naz Reid. We got Lonzo Ball. We got Steven Adams. We got Okoro. We got Grant Williams. This will be a pretty fun group. We have plenty of badges across the board. And with John Cobb likely being our starting shooting guard at just a 71 overall, he has a really good supporting cast. I like what we have put together so far. The Hawks re-signed Jalen Johnson as well. The Pacers bring in Brook Lopez behind Miles Turner. The Cavaliers bring in Corey Kispert and get Karis LeVert back after losing him to the expansion draft a year ago. Should shooting guard be a spot to look at here? The options don't look a whole lot better than John Cobb, but Gary Trent could be a really good option off the bench behind Cobb. Gary Trent will sign that 3-year offer, and now we have 14 players on the roster. Because I expect Reid to be a power forward for us, I think I'm going to go after one more center to kind of round out our roster here. And we'll have Josh Green be our starting small forward, and Cobb can play guard or forward at 6'6", so I'm not concerned about him getting playing time. If we get Drummond off the bench, he's got no other offers, that would be a nice low post presence behind Adams in a similar archetypal role. So let's offer him. And he's not really asking for a lot. And he will sign that 2-year deal, leaving us with the max number of players on the roster. Let's go see who else signs where. Jamal Murray's still fielding offers. He's got plenty to choose from as of right now, as do plenty of other players. They will mostly take offers and be signed by the start of the year. Jamal Murray signs a 1-year, $27 million deal with the Hornets, so he does not have that big extension from Denver like he does in real life, so big pickup there for Charlotte. And player progression, Naz Reid goes down by 1, but I mean, not based on the actual grades across the board. We get improvements for Lonzo and Gary Trent, +3 for Wiseman, so still showing off what he can do potentially as a better backup option over Drummond. We'll just have to see. Okoro up by 2, Green up by 1, Williams up by 1, Adams down by 3. So now we have 3 guys in the running for the starting job at the 5. We do have FIBA qualifiers this year, but I think I'm only going to watch the FIBA qualifiers in the off seasons if we have a player that is on Team USA or whatever other team we could watch. So I think I'll skip that for now. Our next year is going to open up against the Phoenix Suns on the road. This right here is where the series truly begins. A more in-depth look every single year. We can focus on John Cobb as the kind of focal point and centerpiece of the future of the franchise. And here is the first look, by the way, at this next class. Again, this was made by a friend of mine. He completely revamped how players looked and their entire archetype. So there are 3 players that are going to go probably top 3. Frank Bauer, the current #1 player, 18 years old, 7'1" center, inside-out scoring threats, followed by Leonard Law, a 6'1" point guard, a outside shot creator, and then another point guard in the top 3 with Will McBride, a 6'2" guard, a playmaking outside shooting threat. So we'll learn more about this class as we move through the course of year 2. But now to a recap of the roster. We brought in Naz Reid, now the top-ranked player on the entire team. Very happy with this signing. We brought in Alonzo Ball as the Brogdon replacement. Gary Trent Jr. as the potential 2-guard starter over Cobb. We'll just have to see how things go. Pritchard returns as the backup point guard. Wiseman, Drummond, Adams at center. Okoro and Josh Green as our top 2 small forwards battling for the starting job. Grant Williams, Reed at power forward, followed by DFS. Najee Marshall as just some pure depth. And then we have Javon Carter as that 3rd point guard. And then John Cobb, our first ever pick, 21 years old. Will he be a starter? Give me your feedback down below. In terms of free agents, I think I still have to adjust the contract sliders, and I also gotta somehow fix how bad the G League stuff is, where you have guys like this coming out of the G League. But Suggs and Dern, still free agents, not gonna sign another guy to our team, but just gonna hope that other teams will make those signings here early on in the year. Again, I'm still trying to figure out what are the right contract sliders to use. But for our system, which system fits John Cobb the best? Let's go through. We bring him into the small or the shooting guard role. Balance does not really fit him that well. Guard and grind, even worse. Pace and space, not too much. Outside centric, no. Post centric, decent, but not great. Triangle, not great either. 7 seconds is the highest, and that would give us a 2.5-star system starting out. So I think that's going to be our system. 7 seconds. Getting John Cobb, the best of both worlds, a high-tempo offense, and we have the defenders to, I think, overcome the high tempo that leads to a poor defensive focus. So we're going to make this our active system, and I'll probably play him as our starting guard, most likely. I will adjust our coach game plan, our rotation, our training in terms of badge development, all that between now and next episode, folks. What did you think of this first offseason? Did I sign the right players? Did we draft the right guy in John Cobb? What more can we do to improve this team? And what is your outlook for this franchise going forward? The last thing I'll do is adjust what Cobb looks like, because I want to give him some of those accessories. Let's go with a single-digit number, perhaps. Maybe 8. You know, he was compared to Kobe Bryant. Why not wear number 8 for the Aztecs? So Cobb is right-handed, so I'm going to give him a left arm shooting sleeve. Definitely. And he's already got some nice tattoos, so I like that addition to his character. A headband could look good on him. We'll think about adding a headband. On his left arm, though, I definitely want a sleeve. And I would like it to be the color of the accessories on the team. So we'll have to adjust that down here. Left arm item color, make it uniform color 1. On the right elbow, why not add some kind of a wristband or like a forearm band, like a small one like this? I'm going to give Cobb crew scrunch socks. And I also want to give him a left knee sleeve over a left leg sleeve, or some kind of padding or something like this. I'll make that green. Those are my initial additions, but if you guys want to see him have anything different, just let me know down below in the comments section, and I'll probably just make that change. But that will do it for the off-season, guys. What did you think? Please comment down below your thoughts and what you expect John Cobb to do here in his first ever season. Please like the video as well, subscribe if you're new, and we will kickstart the true beginning of this series next time as we go on the road to Phoenix on opening nights of year number 2, the rookie debut of the 6th overall pick, John Cobb. I'll see you guys there. Take care. Have a great day.